So let's get rocking, and we'll leave people in as they are arriving. And let's go to the top of the presentation, would help. So today we are talking about get your values off the wall and into the DNA of the company. So this is always a popular topic where it's how do you define what's important to you? How do you define how we want people to be? And how do you ensure that it's across all of the employees in the organization and across all members of the organization? Just leave a few more in as they're coming in. Great. So yes, so today we'll be sharing you some of our top tips on how to do that. How do you get that those values, or what's important to the company, or how you want people to be, everybody in the organization. It's a really difficult thing to do, as we all know. So for anyone joining, please come on screen. Hi Liz, lovely to see you again. It can be a real challenge in an organization, and the bigger you are, the bigger the challenge. And that is because, of course, you're going away from the nucleus of the organization, where the major influence can be around the center. So anyone who's joined, I would recommend come on screen, come on in. We're doing more of a workshop today rather than a lecture. So we would highly recommend that you come on. We'll be asking you to interact with us in a second. So we have, this is us living our value, which is we have impact. We have this is some of our clients, Bailey's of Bristol, who started with the exact same challenge of how do we get our values embedded across the organization? But they went back to the very beginning and went, well, what are our actual values? I think there are a lot of BS actually on the wall. We have lovely sounding values, but are they real for us? We actually have them because they sound good. So they went back and actually revised their values and picked something that really meant something for them. And now they're at the stage where they're activating it, bringing to life and getting people to actually live it. How do you get people to live it? So that's what we'll be talking about today. Welcome, Mike, James, Rupert, Laura, Alan, Sean. Come on in, I would say, put on your screens, come join us. This is more of a workshop rather than a lecture. So Brendan O'Hurley brought us to work with the supply chain, and again, how do we create that organization within the supply chain? And there is a structure to how we do it, so we will share that with you as well today, those steps on how to get that great culture, because that's the ultimate. What you're trying to do is have a great culture. That's what we do day in, day out, live, breathe. So we are a culture consultancy and leadership, and our job is to support companies to build great cultures and have just great places to work. Our purpose is a better workday for all. So we don't care if you're in the boiler room or the boardroom, you should have a great workplace to work on. Liz will have heard me a lecture about boiler room to boardroom before. James Reed, we went into his company to really try, and we did an engagement survey at the beginning to work out what the challenges were, and then worked out what were the behaviors that were needed in that company and really built up those. So there's just 3 examples of people really living and breathing their culture. So my favorite quote is, there's always a culture. So you end up with one, whatever you do. So you can either choose to shape it and influence it, or take your chances. So we are all about designing the culture, deciding what you need and want, and designing it, and then activating it and embedding it into the company. But you can choose, it's like a garden, you can let it go wild, that's okay too, or you can decide what you want and tailor it and mold it and nurture it to what you want it to be. So our favorite quote there. So this is for you guys. Come on screen, come on in, go on the chat. What do cracks in a culture look like? So when a culture is not working, or when things are not working between people, what does that look like? How does that show up? Share some of your expertise with us there. Come on in, jump on off mute. We welcome you. Or jump on the chat if you're Not willing. Who's willing to be brave today and come off the mute and come on in to us?
So I think maybe there will be unengaged employees, like, for example, what I like to see when someone calls in sick, which happened yesterday. We had to cover 2 shifts because someone was sick. The person let me know on time, and then the colleagues, 3 of them actually, were like, oh, I'm going to come in the morning, I can cover the night, and yes, I can stay longer to close. And I'm like, oh, thank you, guys. That's what really I want to see. So that's an engaged team. And then unengaged, not happy team is probably like pointing fingers. No, not this time. It's not going to be me. Why are you asking me? Not participating in any activities, being late, not caring about the work, just quickly gets it done and goes home. Try to go home early, try to come late.
Yep. Try to do the minimum. Brilliant.
Try to do the minimum.
Absolutely. And you've summed it up. Engaged employees is a big one. How engaged people are. How committed are people to the company and the mission and the goals of the company? Mickey, I saw you coming off of.
I think I align a bit with what was just mentioned. Is that, you know, when I'm talking about engagement, it's a lot about behavior, right? Being on time, do as you said. Be kind, not necessarily always say yes, but do it in the right way. Teams that are not engaged, or people that are not engaged, what we see usually is they are coming in late. They don't stick to agreements. There's always excuses, stuff like that.
Yes. So that, and then it's that real question. So first of all, what do we want them to actually be like? And then next is, how do we get everyone living that desired culture, that we call it culture. It's the way we are around here, the way we do things around here. Culture can be a very fluffy, big word. Will, you need to tell me if the slides are moving. I'm coming out and going back in again.
Yes, that's fine. That's good.
Yes, good. I'll come out. Some people were having trouble seeing it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, you're my presentation man. You have to raise the hand if it's not working, so we make sure everybody. But that's it. Cracks. And any other examples of where you've seen cracks in a culture?
Yeah, for me, it's vital that the values on the wall were displayed in leadership initially. So some of the things we've discussed already is individual behaviours, but these are allowed to manifest because of the leadership is not connected and displaying and role modeling the organizational values. So all the stuff we talked about is a byproduct of that.
Exactly. And that is one of the key ones of leadership, walking the talk. You know, and it is we can only be what we can see. Positive behavior breeds positive behavior, same way as negative behavior breeds negative.
There's a consistency in the way people behave. You know, before I was here, I worked for a large corporate, and the place was covered in values and everything else, and we spent a long piece of work about how do we align people there and role model that, so that is actually what you see every day. So it becomes that type of self-fulfilling prophecy, if that's the correct word to use, that actually this is the right thing to do, and these values and great posters and symbols and icons actually live and breathe in the day-to-day.
Absolutely. And we really recommend in companies that they do some what we call pulses. So short, maybe one to 3 questions out to employees. And one of the ones we do regularly are the leadership behaviors aligned with the company values? And you can rate that. And that is a really great feedback for the leadership, because unless they're living and breathing, it's really hard to get alignment across the company. Mike, you have your hand up very politely. Thank you.
I'm a very polite person, Rita, you know that.
Oh, Mike, as always.
I think one of the things that in order to help the people within an organization, it's, as you say, you've got values on the wall, but I think you need to describe what those behaviors look like. So,
Mike,
you know,
don't be giving the solutions. Hang in. Oh, you're jumping. Yeah. No, you are very
fair
right.
enough then. Okay, then
yeah,
I'll leave you to say that.
Yeah, no, that is actually so true, Mike. And we'll be coming to that one is, you know, values can be very arbitrary, fluffy, broad words. And how do you bring that down to what does it mean to me on my day to day? And that is a key factor. Absolutely. Brilliant, Mike. So any other cracks that you've seen on culture?
Hey, Marita. I think what I can see in our small company is that, you know, we have worked on values at the very beginning, and they are not on the wall, but they are somewhere buried in the presentation. And what I've experienced in the last couple of years, it's more of a blaming culture than a culture where we, you know, build each other up. It's trust that's lacking, and transparency. And these are all they will keep building blocks in our kind of, you know, idea of a company. And I find they all have kind of gotten smaller or have disappeared.
Great example, Connie. Absolutely. And when the blame starts, then the trust goes, and then it's really hard. You have to build up from the base blocks again from the very beginning. Absolutely. Brilliant example, Connie. So let's move on then. Anyone else want to jump in on cracks that they've seen and how it's shown up? Welcome, Laura. I see you joined in there. It's super. So we talk about the 3 stages to build a great culture. And first is about clarity. And what Mike mentioned there about is part of bringing that clarity. Clarity on what is the culture, where is it today, we talk about the intel on the culture, what gets promoted around here, what are the behaviors that exist today, what makes us great today, what makes us not so great today, what are those gems that we want to hold on to, and what are those kryptonites that we want to get rid of that are killing our superpowers. So getting that clarity, and then the next stage is about defining what is the culture, and we'll come on to doing that. Then activating it, bringing it alive. So as Connie mentioned, you know, the values are done and they're in a folder. That's what we talk about them on the wall. The company I used to pass this beautiful poster on the wall. It looked very pretty, but it meant nothing to the day-to-day life I was doing. So how do we get that off? We have to activate it, and then about embedding it. And ultimately what you want to be doing is measuring it. Our goal is that culture becomes a KPI, which sits up there as high as the profit and the cash flow. But having some culture metrics that are telling you what's working, what's not, what behaviors are working and what behaviors are not. So getting those metrics in place. So we talk about clarity, activation, and measure. So tip number 1, and this is coming back to what Mike mentioned, absolutely, getting clear on what your culture is. So a lot of leaders, when they come and they go, oh, you know, my team, they're not working with me, they're not working against me. And then I have this one employee and they just do their own thing. They are not, you know, or as Esther mentioned, they're complaining, or they just come in on time, they give no effort, they don't go out their way to help people, and they can become really, really frustrating. But what is it that is the culture? So first of all, get clarity on the culture. And that's that first step, getting clarity. So I talked about intel is where your culture is today. And the second stage is about design the fundamentals. So there's 3 fundamentals. I need to move. I can't see the screen myself because there's so many lovely faces here. Design the fundamentals is, why does the company exist? Why are we here? What do we value? What's important to us? And then how are we living those values? How are we going to behave around here? So the why we exist, what we value, and how we operate around here. So those are the 3 key fundamentals. Now, every employee out there, there's actually 3 things I've worked out that they want. They want to be valued. They want to work in a winning team for an inspiring purpose. And for an inspiration. So that's going back to the why, that purpose of why we exist. You know, TED Talks to spread ideas, and then getting your values. So out of you guys, can you just give me a sense of Just raise the hand or raise your hand. Do you have values in your company today? Yeah.
Yeah, I think our value would be the feeding healthier nations. That would be the motto that we usually say, then we can expand on it, but that's why the company exists, feeding healthier nations.
That is the purpose, the why you exist. Beautiful. So it seems like some of you guys have values, some of you don't. I'll put a little, let me just come out of here. I'll put a little link in the, if you don't have your values, here is a little video that I've done to share how to do your values. So it might be useful on what questions to ask and stuff. It's a quick video, it's 2-3 minutes. And you can watch that about how to define your values. So your values is what's important to us? What is important to us around here? And remember, that is setting the base of your culture, the fundamentals and the foundations of your culture. Also can be used to attract talent. You know, when you're looking at a company, you want to know what's important to them. Second thing you want to do is know that what's important to them, that they're actually living it. And thirdly, how we operate around here. So this is then taking those values and getting real clarity about what they mean. So this is Impala, lovely company, and one of their values is no passengers, and they have defined really clearly what does it mean to have behaviors like take proactive ownership, be decisive and assertive, view shifting priorities as a bigger plan, be accountable and hold others to account with no blame. So really clear that you can talk to people about this, you can teach people, you can measure it, and you can also give feedback on it. So really clear things is a real test on, are they a real behavior or not? And remember, we've all got skin in the game. I love that in Impala. So keeping on behaviors. So a big test, we say they need to be teachable and measurable if you're going to define your behaviors. And behaviors can be quite a strong word. We use social contract in one company. I think it's a lovely word. What's our social contract between us if we're living these values? And sitting down and actually working out what are these. If you're doing it in larger companies, you know, pulling people in and go, what does this mean, this value to you? What does this mean in the company? How do we see people showing up? It's what do we do and what do we not do? It's what's rewarded and what's punished. So that really, really clear language, what gets rewarded around here and what gets punished if we're living this value. And apply to, and I'll come to you, Sean, and apply to everyone, whether it's the boiler room, and this is going back to what Will said, right to the top, the boardroom. So there is no, it's for everybody, and everybody needs to align against those behaviors. Sean, jump in there.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I had some tech challenges, but I can see and hear everything now. It's great.
Yes.
So I was wondering your opinion. My last company, we were a tech consultancy startup. Defined our values early on. We were about 5-10 people at that point. We grew to about 40-50 people, opened up another office in Dubai at that point. And I felt like at that moment, our values weren't quite right. And I was wondering what your opinion was on changing your values, adapting them. And this was within a 2-year period.
That's a really great question, Sean, and one that is asked regularly. So when the company is small, the values are generally end up around what the founders' values, because it's very founder-led, founder-focused, around what the founders' personal values would have been. And because the company is small, the ripple effect, the circle of influence, as we say, around those founders is really easy. So you see what they're doing, you're acting, you're seeing how others. It's really easy when it's small, if the founders are consistent in their values. As the company grows, you are further from the epicenter. So the people on the edge do not have that regular exposure, hearing them talk as much. And they don't have that regular exposure to what the culture is. So it gets further. Also, they may be changing the leadership, and also you're moving from that, trying to just survive as a startup now into more structure, more organization. And there is a real time. When you get to about the 40 or 50, definitely over 30, you should review the values that you had when you were just a couple of people, because it cannot be the same. Now you are more influenced by the people, the bigger community. So a lot of the time, some of them stay the same, Sean. And there's some of that themes that, and they should kind of nearly, the theme should nearly stay the same, but it may be tweaked, it may be dialed up, the language may be different, and you may have a bigger influence because you have a bigger team as well. And bringing them in to help define the values is really, really great. And also setting that vision really clearly on where you want to go. Did that answer, Sean? Brilliant. Good. So again, those behaviors, so that social contract, those behaviors, it's the most critical thing you can do to set the foundations, because what you're saying is, this is what we do. So here's a lovely example of one of our clients, Terry's. They're a construction company, and they have their 4 values, which haven't changed all that much. They're 1,000 people now, and it hasn't changed all that much from when they were 200 up to 1,000. They have care, humility, passion, and authenticity. But what they've done really beautifully is what we've done what we do and what we don't do. And we wanted the guys on the ground in the construction site to have the same understanding as the guys in the boardroom, so that there was so it was really simple language, very clear. Like, for example, if you take the humility one, they have, we own our mistakes, we are objective and always try to do the right thing, we say thank you and well done. So really simple, really clear across the company. And they have included now that in their performance reviews. They give feedback each week from their managers to their teams, or the team leader to the teams, on how they are actually living the values. And they can pick out the ones and say, will we do well on that, or are we not doing so well? So really, really lovely and clear. So great. Okay, any other questions on behaviors before we move on? All clear. So if you have your purpose, that inspiring purpose, you have your values defined, pull them out if they've been put away or they're up on the wall or in a folder, and go, right, let's take that first one. What would we be doing and what are we not doing? What are we going to reward? What are we going to punish? What do we do around here? What do we not do around here? And the clearer you can be, the better. Brilliant. Okay, so second tip, we're going to now move into, so that's a little tip from the clarity. Now we're going to talk about a little bit about the activation. So how then, when you have defined that, how do we bring it to life? How do we make everyone know about it? How do we bring it so that everyone can start living it and trialing it and practicing it? Because it takes a time. This is not an overnight installation. So we have a 10-step process. We're not going to go through this. I'm not going to kill you with 10 steps. So for Mickey and Esther, these are the 10 steps you'll be going through when you go through the Culture Smart Accelerator. We work through each of those in the accelerator, and I'll be telling you a little bit about the accelerator later on, but these are the 10 steps that we will work our way through on how to bring the clarity, bring the activation, and that measurement. So we're going to look at a little bit at step 3, which is tip number 2. You need to see it, hear it, and feel it. So that value or that behavior, you need to see it, hear it, and feel it. And it's a really good little test. So that Bailey's company there, Bailey of Bristol that I was talking about, which is a caravan and motorhome, we looked at this is their new values they came up with, which were actually more real to the old values were just sounded good. These are really more them. We pass on with pride, we roll up our sleeves, we look ahead, and we are one community. And then we said, right, how are we going to make sure people are seeing it, hearing it, and feeling it? So seeing it, for example, I just put in the thing, this is their town hall. They started to do a town hall with everybody, and they have their values up on the wall. And that's with them seeing it. They've now with it all over the reception. They're now going to design their meeting rooms around a value. So they want everyone to be able to see it. They have screensavers. They have put it on their email. So we thought of all the ways that we can make sure people are seeing it. We need to see things so many times before it goes in. hearing it. So the town hall, as I mentioned, the town hall was all focused around, they gave updates, but every time it brought in how the company were living those values, how the board and leadership are living those values. And then lastly, the feel it. They have started to do employee awards around each of these values, and getting it up off the ground, of course, is hard. Now they have 30 or 40 applications every month, and they take one every month. So this is a really nice tip as well. Take one value and make it that month. So January, about we pass it on with pride, and then how are we living those behaviors and awarding around those behaviors. So how are you seeing it, hearing it, and feeling it in the company? And the bigger the company, the more is to be said. We need to hear something 7 times before it goes in. So that is a good one. So give me some examples of what you've seen, where you've seen people either see it, hear it, feel it. Some good examples. How do you see it, hear it, feel it in your companies?
I can share. So for us, for example, every official company presentation starts with a slide showing our values.
Oh, beautiful.
And then we have to share a story that links to that value. So I'm working in a medical device company, so usually it's something where, you know, a patient was helped, or a young kid with cancer got, you know, an improved lifestyle. So we really try to share so not only see it, but then also hear it at the same time.
Oh, fantastic. And stories, brilliant, Mickey. Stories are a fantastic way for us to not only hear it, but also to feel it. We can relate to stories. We can feel that person in the story. So a great way. We have a client who they started in the company. They went around first with the leadership and took a little video of them saying, how did you tell us a story about when you lived a value? We Look Ahead, for example, one of Bailey there. And what they've started doing now is they go across the company, and every month they share a video about how someone in the company lived a value. So, but story is a really nice way to bring it alive. Rupert, you have your hand up. Thank you. Come on in.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm not on camera. I'm on my phone, so
No worries.
I can't get it on. Sorry about that. Yes, we've done a couple of ways to try and just bring the values like front and center, you know, like try and not make them abstract. One of the ways we've done that is we have like a kind of kudos channel on Slack, the messaging platform that we use. And we've got little like emoji buttons. This is very millennial actually, now I'm mentioning it, but we've got like little emoji button, so when someone gives kudos, they'll like use one of those different values that we have to kind of assert why they're giving the kudos, and it just kind of keeps the value a bit more front and center because they're so
Brilliant.
easy to use, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I love it. Yeah, so and it's all about, it needs to be because it needs to be reinforced. There is no end. Culture is a long-term continuous improvement project. It doesn't stop. It's not done. So every way you can add, and we talk about layering. So you do something and then you think of another way to layer it on, and you build. Start with something small and you layer it up. And the bigger the company, the more layers you need to really reach anyone on that edge. Any other ideas on how you can see it, hear it, and feel it? James, you've come off mute there.
I think you can smell it.
Oh, I love it. Yes, you can.
You know, we have restaurants that have been open for 23 years, and you can walk in and you can smell when things are absolutely fantastic, and you can walk in there and think where you can smell it when things are completely toxic. You know, especially if you have a really great understanding of your environment, you know, and you're used to what you're trying to achieve on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. We'll have to add another one on there, James. Smell it. But yeah, you can sense it, you know, you can feel it. You can totally feel it. So at the beginning, it can feel quite artificial, but then it can take a life of its own. where then people take it on. So in Bailey, when we started doing the awards first, it was a bit way to go out and get managers to promote some. And now they're coming proactively. They see the positive impact on the employee and they're going, oh my God, Johnny now is like just smiling every day because he got that award last month from the MD, and he feels so valued. Remember, people want to feel valued, part of a winning team. With working for an inspiring purpose. So there you are, a really great way to make people feel valued. The employee life cycle. So attracting, onboarding, retaining, leaving people go. The onboarding, oh my God, that's when they need absolutely to see it, hear it, feel it. Some companies have culture ambassadors. Some companies have culture mentors that come in. You know, making sure, how do you bring people on board on that onboarding, that they feel the culture? And because you're starting off with someone who's enthusiastic, who wants to do a great job, and they're like, oh, how's it done around here? I want to take that. And then you need to make sure that, of course, everyone's living that one to keep that enthusiasm going. Another really nice one is when you're offboarding someone, leaving someone go, really question, how do you live your behaviors? Can you still see it, hear it, and feel it? Is it done in a really respectful way? Remember, that person is going out either good mouthing or bad mouthing your company. So offboarding someone is a really nice way to make sure that they also feel the values and that you are truly living it all through, not just when things are going well in the company. Brilliant. Okay, so that was tip number 2. So tip number 3, be prepared to take action. Here we go. So your culture, or the culture, not your culture, the culture is defined by the lowest tolerated behavior. So let's say that again. The culture is defined by the lowest tolerated behavior. So what is someone allowed to get away with? That is not totally in line, but the minute it is a low or poor behavior, that's setting the bar for your culture. That's setting the bar for your culture. So another favorite quote of mine. So 3 actions. How do we ensure those 3 actions that we don't have that lowest tolerated behavior dragging our culture down? Ensure managers have the confidence and skill to be able to have those difficult conversations and pull someone up when they are behaving not in line with the culture. So remember, you have to have the behaviors defined before you can ask any managers to do this, or team leaders, or anyone who has responsibility for people. If the behaviors are not defined, it's really hard to pull someone up because you're like, oh, I really want you to take a little bit more initiative. And the guy's going, well, why? I'm doing fine. You know, so be really clear. Taking initiative is part of our behaviors and is expected and required. If you're not doing that, then I can give you some, I can pull you up about it. Peer-to-peer feedback culture. So this is getting feedback. The greatest way to keep a culture alive and on track is when peers are giving peers feedback. So you come out of the meeting and Connie, I will use you because you know me. Connie comes out of the meeting and goes, Marita, when you did this, it was really not in line with the expected behaviors that we have. You know the values that we have, and you weren't really living that in there because you did this, this, and this. That is better than any manager saying it. It's a peer-to-peer saying it. Absolutely the best. So you start, you can't just go to peer-to-peer feedback if you don't have any feedback culture. Start with just getting managers to ask for feedback first. Turn feedback into a gift. And then it translates further into where you reward people for giving peer-to-peer feedback. So getting managers to ask for feedback, painful at the beginning, turning feedback into a gift, and then it translates into peer-to-peer feedback where it becomes the norm, it's standard, it's brilliant, it keeps everyone in line. It doesn't mean it has to be hierarchical from that was me doing from higher up down. That's my action. And number 3, be prepared to remove. Now I had be prepared to fire in, and it actually kind of, the language was quite strong. So I said, be prepared to remove. I felt it was a little bit softer. So, but be prepared to fire is what I'm actually saying. So that if people consistently do not behave in line with your culture, you need to make that harsh decision, because all you're doing is poisoning the culture, and you are disengaging all other employees. There is nothing more demotivating than looking over and seeing someone getting away with behaving not in line with the culture when we're all are trying our best over here. Why should I make the effort if he's not making the effort, or she's behaving? Really difficult if it's someone who has a skill that's really valuable, like your best sales guy who treats people really badly. Really difficult, but better for your culture. Be prepared to remove. So they're the 3 actions from number 3. Be prepared to take action. Get the managers in line. So for Esther and Mickey, part of the Culture Accelerator, we'll be sharing with you how to get those managers to have the confidence and skills to be able to do that. Rupert and Sean, I think Rupert, your hand is up since the last time. Come in, Sean.
Rupert was before me, actually. Did you want to go, Rupert?
Mine was still up from last time. You go.
Okay, I was just going to ask. So I completely agree with this point. And having led sales teams, and in one situation had to move somebody on who was our top salesperson because of their culture. Yeah. Like I really get that. And it's so easy to talk about it in this context, but so hard when you're in the environment when that person is absolutely dominating the number and you feel like it's just they need to go. The thing I was going to ask you about from that though is how do you make that decision making as easy as possible within organizations to be able to enable managers to say, right, performance is great, but culture is not good enough, therefore you're going to have to go. Like, how do you bake that in through, I don't know, performance measures, or how do you do that?
So back to the very beginning, the behaviors need to be really clear, because you can't do this unless the behaviors are clear. Absolutely baseline. Because remember, the journey to getting removing someone or being fired is at the end of the journey, and there's a lot of steps in there. But unless we're all talking about the same thing and the expectations are clear, it's a really difficult journey. So, and along the way, we recommend like our team leaders and managers to give weekly 15-minute conversations where they give feedback. So training them how to give feedback on something they did really well during the week, something that could be even better. So starting that little conversations, but regular, building up into, some companies will do performance reviews. It's not a requirement, but some companies will do them. How do you build it in there? They should be so regular. So we're more pushing having regular weekly check-ins rather than that once a year performance review that is too late then. Because you don't want to announce to someone that they're not behaving the way you want them to behave 1 year after they've, we've been in this journey together. So the more regular, it should not be a shock. Regular, but it makes it a lot easier for any leader or manager, team leader or manager, director, if the behaviors are really clear. And if that director, manager or team leader is living the behaviors, because that's the other complication that can happen if they're not living. So we say regular, getting that rhythm, cadence in place to have those regular conversations, that is priority. Behaviors clear, regular conversations then can really easily lead to this. Brilliant. Okay, so any other questions in this lovely topic around people? Always complicated, but there is things we can do to help and make it better. So let me, I've been mentioning our Culture Smart Accelerator. We have Mickey and Esther who are on the call who are joining our accelerator. And this is what we go through our program, and we go through each step so that they can implement a great culture in their company. And we go through each of those steps and give them all the tools, the training, the workshop for the managers that they need to do that. So it's a real mix of core online courses, clinics. We do surgeries on what are the culture challenges. We have a great community where people can share their challenges. And we also do the personal development, which is to make sure you as a culture smart leader is leading in the best way. So if this is of interest, please jump on, book a demo. I'll put the link in the let me just put the link in the chat. And even if you don't end up joining, we will also talk about your culture. So it's well worth booking one so that we can talk through where your culture is today and where you want it to be. So book on in. It's a Calendly link, which will bring you into our calendar, and you can pick a time to choose it. We have a Mad March offer on. So if you book a demo before Friday, book it. You don't have to have it before Friday, but book it before Friday. You will get that great price, and we'll send that out to you in our email as well when we follow up with all these points and share with you the recording. So just going back, right, last thing before you go is not clarity. Tell me, let's go around the room. What was your gem? And what is your pledge now going forward from today? Or if you did have a gem, you don't have to have a gem, but if you had a gem, and what's your pledge going forward? Mickey, I'll start with you, if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind, if I understand the question right. So for me, it's definitely aligned on having the brought up. So let's have it visible also for my team. So within the company, right, it's too big to make the company culture, the culture for my department itself. It's a Polish department, and we are a US based company. So for me, I would really like to talk about with the team itself, what culture do we want to have as a department that matches the company's culture, but also makes it more applicable for ourselves on a day-to-day basis.
Brilliant. Super, Mickey. Zoe, you're next on my screen there. Come on off mute and come in and tell us if you took a gem or a... Oh, you're still not... Wait. Get you off mute. Still on mute. Can you come off mute? Maybe if I ask you to unmute there. I'll let you see. Can you work it out there, Zoe? Sean. Oh, Zoe, wait. Zoe's in. Come, Zoe.
I think I've taken a lot away from the session. The most important thing for me was when we talked about kudos, because that's something as an organisation that we have started a journey with values in the fact that we've got a list of words, and I've got some really good ideas about how to bring those to life. But we're not an organisation that talks about kudos. So I think that was a real light bulb moment for me. All of it has been exceptionally useful, but that was the bit where I thought that might be the link that we're missing.
Yes, brilliant. So the kudos, rewarding, making people feel rewarded and valued, really key one. Brilliant. Sean said, I need to run. Thank you. Very good use of time today. Fantastic. Alan Simpson, do you want to come in? What did you take from today?
The big one is actually stipulate what the behaviours or the values are. We are a company that do have values. We read them out each. We have what we call a Monday morning motivator, and we get someone to read the values out. But actually saying what those behaviours actually mean to each employee is really key. So my big takeaway for today.
Excellent. Fantastic. Will, let's jump off mute there and tell us.
Hello. For me was the see it, feel it, hear it, and then I'm going to add the smell it part, because I think that was really, really good, and I can understand where that came from. And actually now embedding that in our onboarding process. I work for a company that's got a great brand, which is behind my head, and we don't use it enough.
Iron Brew.
Iron Brew. And I mean, the smell it thing is great, because in a place of work you can smell it everywhere. And I'm really going to take that and make that a huge piece of the onboarding process. But a great session all round, and thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Will. Delighted. Stephanie, do you want to jump on?
For me, very similar to Will, actually. It's to see it, hear it, feel it. We talk about our values when we induct all of our new team members, if they get an induction at the minute. And then apart from that, we don't talk about them. We don't see them anywhere. So actually really embedding that into everyday life for us.
Fantastic. And Stephanie, consider, so the next stages of the activating then are, how do you get them into meetings, decision making, the rituals, there's the step by step. We could have a chat through on what you need to consider for really embedding to bring that really alive. Fantastic. Cornelia Kelly.
Hey, Yeah, I guess super session, Marita, thank you so much. I took away a lot as well, a lot. And I think for me, the first step after this is really dig out the values that we have, make myself aware of them. And then as a next step, I think we should, as a team, obviously, look at this together again and start having regular feedback sessions. You know, for us, that is just something that happens only when the problems are so big that we actually feel like we can't go on anymore. So for me, that is probably, that would be a key thing, to do that in the team, and that should be positive and negative. I think not just peer-to-peer feedback, you know, a culture can be both, should be both, right? Pushing the good stuff and then motivating each other, and but also be honest about what doesn't work. And I think that is something we all need to learn, to be clear with our feedback to each other.
Brilliant, Connie, love it. James.
What really grabbed me was how important it was to let go of employees on the front step, and they're walking out the door with a smile on their face rather being bitter and twisted. And I think we can bring that into our personal relationships as well. You know, it's a good place to start. Too often enough, we leave people and we're bitter, and we sometimes walk into the next relationship recovering from that bitterness. And I think to sit someone down and offboard them nice and politely is just fantastic. And yeah, that really grabbed me.
Oh, brilliant, James. Love it. Mike, this is very much your world, Mike, so I'm not sure what
Not at all. I always like getting a bit of Marita positivity on a weekly basis. So no, I loved your quote. Where it came from, I don't know. Your culture is only as strong as your lowest tolerated behavior. Do like that. That's something I will take away and quote with my clients. Brilliant.
Use it. It's fantastic. Brilliant. Rupert, I don't know where Jennifer, Tracy, if you have the chance to come on screen and join or not, don't feel if you're not in a position to do that, just you can type in the chat with your gem. Or Rupert, you're off mute.
Yeah, I can. I think the example you raised of the kind of expected behaviors from the values, but also what aren't the expected behaviors. And I think that's something that I'm gonna take away, because we just have the kind of the positive scenario, right? Yep. Which is all well and good, but it's also good to have that flip side.
Absolutely.
So yeah, sort of echo everyone else. Really helpful session. Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome, Rupert. And that what we do, what we don't do, what's rewarded, what's punished, it makes it really clear. And how helpful for someone new coming into the company to have that clarity. Absolutely. So Ian is in there. Ian works for me, so I will be asking you, Ian. Jennifer, Tracy, have you had the chance to come off? If not, do you want to write in the chat and give you a chance to come off? Thank you. Yeah, you're more than welcome. Right, we'll leave you off because I realized I kept you 5 minutes over than I promised, but you were such a great gang to share your the gems and some valuable, and it's always really good to hear what people take away, and I'll be following up with you to see, did you put those things in place, give you some accountability for that pledge that you've taken on that gem now, to make sure you do something about it. So thank you all so much. Go and create great cultures, and Mickey and Esther will be following up with you guys over the next Esther, you stay online actually, and Mickey, I'll be talking to you soon.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you
Guys.